Hey y'all, happy Friday. I'm just getting home from my on call shift at the hospital. It was fairly uneventful. Nobody died on my watch, praise God. Um, but I did get a call to one of the floors in the hospital. That's where a lot of the postpartum patients are. So the people who have given birth. And so I got a call and I went to go check in on them, and I saw the woman in the bed and she looked like super young, like 2021. She ended up not needing the chaplain service. The baby's father was wondering about it and he had left the room. So I ended up going back to the office. But when I went to chart, because we have to chart every time we visit a patient, when I went to chart and I saw that she was 29, it's almost like I was like, dang, I didn't know she was that old. I didn't know she was my age. Like, she's only a few months younger than me. And she just had this baby, and it seemed like the two people in the room were her parents. And they looked very happy to be there supporting her with this child. It was her first child, and I don't know. I was walking home and I kind of got choked up and preoccupied. I guess today's vlog is about the things that trigger you. And there have been quite a few things this summer that trigger something in me that's kind of uncomfortable. But one of the things is, I work a lot in the children's hospital. We have two hospitals, the Children's Hospital, Morgan Stanley, and then we have the Milstein Hospital, which is the adult hospital. Of my 3 units, two of them are in the children's hospital. So I work a lot. I see the kids, I see the babies in the cardiac unit. And I was doing rounds tonight as an on-call chaplain, so I stopped into all the ICUs, and I was just walking around the ICU. Sometimes I ask the charge nurse, are there any patients that could use a visit? And sometimes I just walk past the room and feel the energy. And I walked past this one room, and this baby, 11 months old, was staring at me, smiling, and he was just looking at me. And so I had to go and wave at him, and then after waving, I ended up going in and chatting with his godmother for about 5 minutes, and he was just so precious. But I'm triggered. It's like I want a baby. And I was walking home like tearing up. I never wanted to rush and have kids or nothing like that. I always wanted to have a partner and to be married and to do things in a way that seemed the most logical in terms of finances and such. But I guess I was okay with not having children until my mid-30s. When I was in a relationship, I thought, oh, I'm gonna marry this person and we'll probably have a baby around the time I'm 31 or 32. But now that I'm single, I'm 29, I'm single, I have zero prospects. Like, I ain't date nobody. Ain't nothing on the table. And, I'm okay with having a child by myself. I'm okay with doing in vitro fertilization. I have no problem with that. But of course, I'm finishing up this degree and I want to get my career in ministry started. So I don't want to complicate anything right now. And of course, I want to have money and resources to care for my child or my children, even if I do that by myself. And I was triggered because she was in this room and her looked like her parents were there, and like, I want my parents to be around when I have kids. And my parents, they ain't getting no younger, okay? They not as young as some other people's parents, right? My mama had me when she was 38, okay? So, I'm almost 30, okay? So, I see, and I go through the children's unit and see these parents. These parents that I'm talking to are my age. A lot of them are my age, the ones who just had a baby, or, they're my age or maybe slightly older. Sometimes they're younger. I had a set of parents that were 20 and 21. And I'm old. They looked at me as their big sister because I'm older than them, right? And I don't know. It's just triggering because I really desperately want to have a family, and I would like to start a family within the next 3 years. Like, I could see myself having a kid in 2 years, but I don't have no partner. So, and I don't have no job. So I just kind of feel stuck. And sometimes chaplains see, you are dealing with other people's stuckness. You're dealing with other people's crises. But sometimes it really brings out your own feelings about your own stuckness. And I feel stuck when it comes to this. I just never thought that I'd get to this stage and there'd be no prospects. There'd be no partner, no fiance, no husband. And I'm not really into all the fanfare, like wedding this and wedding that. I don't care about none of that. I just never thought that it would look so bleak. And to visit these people in the hospital is like, dang, like, half the people having babies younger than me, and it's something that I really want. So that was a triggering moment. But there's also other triggering things. Like in the adult hospital, I work in a unit that has a lot of what they call comorbidities, or there's people with, like, for example, who will be like on withdrawal from alcohol, but also suffering from renal failure, right? So they're having like two things going on at the same time. Or you'll have somebody who has like respiratory issues and they're also suffering from bipolar. They're living with bipolar disorder. And so you have like two cases going on, but the cases that are most triggering are the young people who come in who are like on alcohol withdrawal and they're having seizures, because when you are an alcoholic and you suddenly go into withdrawal, which is great. Hypothetically, it's a great thing, but if you've really been abusing alcohol excessively and you stop all of a sudden, you can start having these seizures and stuff after that. So it's triggering. I don't consider myself an alcoholic, but I definitely know that there are people in my life who struggle with alcohol addiction. I've struggled with alcohol issues. I wouldn't say it was abuse, but it was definitely like enough for me to pull back and be like, whoa, like I'm drinking just a little too much. And so working in the hospital, you start to become almost like a hypochondriac. You're like, oh my God, like this could be me. And then I didn't drink for like a week. I was like, oh my God. And my therapist was like, girl, you just, you're overreacting because you're in this environment. But she says, it's a good thing that you're thinking critically about your drinking, even though it's not problematic. It could be one day. And the fact that you were working in this hospital with people who were really living with addiction and illness of that arena, that it causes me to really think seriously about not just me, but about the people in my life who are on their way to substance abuse, if they're not quite there yet. And so that's triggering. So yeah, I mean, chaplaincy is not always about the other people. There's a reason why you go through these programs, these certification programs. There's a reason why they make you talk about your countertransference and what the visit brought out of you. Is because, it could get in the way of your care. And it doesn't. But there are times when, I get pulled out of the moment. Like I was visiting with a patient who's 36 and she's in heart failure. And she has two children, 13 and 10. And she was like, oh, you have children? I guess, she thinks that, in her culture, women have children very early. So she had her first child when she was 23. And she was like, oh, you're a parent? And I was like, no. And I get asked that quite often. Oh, you're a parent? People just assume that I'm 30, so I should have one child at least, and I'm like, no. And it's just this uncomfortable moment. Like, I'm not offended or anything, but it pulls me out of the moment. And instead of focusing on the rest of the visit and caring for this person, I'm focusing on the fact that, I get asked a lot quite often if I'm a parent, and I have to answer no. And it's awkward for me in my head, maybe not for them, but also it just kind of triggers that thing in me, right? That desire, so desperately wanting to be planning for my children. And it's hard to plan for your children when you single, and in vitro fertilization costs a lot of money, so I need to have a good job before I start planning on single parenthood. And so it's just it's a lot. But I'm grateful for the experiences, and I'm grateful that I have a therapist to decompress with. But I just thought I'd share because there are people who are going into this profession and going into CPE programs coming up, and this is what it does to you. It brings out some of those ugly parts of yourself that you don't really want to think about. And not just ugly, just complicated. It ain't gotta be ugly. I think every part of you can be beautiful. It's just complicated. It brings out the complicated parts of you that you may not want to think about. But anyway, I hope you all have a great weekend. Have a blessed weekend. and I love you. Bye.